This is something I've never spoken about on my channel before, but I had a record label called 10 Star Records that started back in 2007. And my partner in its name was Johnny Diamond. I first met Johnny in 2003. He sent me a band called The Working Title, sent me a record and asked me if I was interested in working with them. And I listened to this song. It was one song that was 12 minutes long, but it was really 4 different songs put together in a mashup. And I said, I called him back and I said, you know, there's a song in the middle of these songs that is really good. Maybe 2 songs even, but this is almost like a medley. And I said, yeah, I'd like to work with them. So Johnny comes to town with a band. They were from Charleston, and Johnny comes to Atlanta, and we start working on the project together. And I meet him, and he's a young kid, 19 years old. Very smart kid. Really good taste in music. So we do this project together. We did a 5-song demo, and the band ends up getting signed to Universal Records. So the next project he calls me about is a kid named Owen Beverly. Owen had some demos that Johnny played for me, and they were amazing. So he came in, and he brought a guy with him who played bass and guitar, and his name was Les Hall, who you've seen on this channel many times. Let me play you a couple little bits from Owen's EP entitled Drunk Lover. So once Owen's record was done, I started getting calls from so many people, other bands. And Johnny started saying, oh, this band you should work with, this band you should work with. There's a band called The Falls Lost. And in that band, the singer Gil and his brother Lance, Gil played guitar and Lance played drums, but there's a bass player named Eric Bass. Eric is now the bass player in Shinedown, but he was the bass player in that band. But because of the Owen record, so many people reached out to me because they loved the record. But Johnny said, you should really work with this band, Jump Little Children. Have you heard of them? I said, yeah, of course. I've heard of them. They're a great band. So Johnny hooked me up with the singer, Jay. And I remember that Jay said the only thing wrong with the Owen Beverly EP is that it only had 6 songs on it. So Owen's record started getting all these labels after him. There's another guy I worked with named Charlie Mars. Same thing happening. And I had Jump come in and we did the record together. And that was the story that I told about meeting Elton John. Elton was a massive fan of Jump Little Children. So I did that record in 2004. So this is between 2003 and 2004. And then my dad passed away during that time period while I was finishing that record. And over the course of the next couple years, it was band after band after band that Johnny brought in, eventually leading to bands like Need to Breathe, who was a huge fan of Jump Little Children, of Owen Beverly, of Charlie Mars. And I ended up doing their second, third, and fourth records, all of which were for Atlantic Records, and I think they're all gold records, if I'm not mistaken. In 2007, Johnny came to me. He had moved to Atlanta, and he came to me and says, we should start a label together. I said, okay. Who are we going to sign, Johnny? He says, well, I got a couple bands. Okay. The first band was out of Memphis, and they were called STREETSIDE SYMPHONY. And the second band was called CROWFIELD, also from Charleston. And that had 2 members, the lead singer, Tyler Meacham, who wrote the songs, and the piano player, whose name was Joe Giant. Those 2 guys came in. Johnny had them come in, and they played me some songs here in the control room. Johnny was there, and I heard the songs. They didn't have a band or anything, but they had great songs. Tyler wrote all the songs, and he was an incredibly good singer. So I said, yeah, let's do this. Now, I had never signed a band to anything. I really had only done one production deal ever, which was this band I-9, which I've talked about before on my channel. So we decided to make these 2 records. And the idea is I'll make the records. I'm going to find session guys to play for the CROWFIELD record. And out of those session guys, you've seen some of the people on my channel. like Les Hall, who played on the record. Les played organ, he played guitar. My very dear friend Dave Rolfe played guitar on it. Dave Honorato, who you see on here all the time with me and Rhett, he played guitar solos on a couple of the songs. The bass player from Jump Little Children, Johnny Gray, and the drummer, Rin Vincent. Great, great studio drummer, friend of mine. Let me play a couple clips from each band. I'm just going to play a little small excerpt. This first is from Streetside Symphony. This song's called Sundowner. Temptation, take your soul on me. In a crowded room, you're all I see. Temptation, give me what I need. When the sun goes down. The funny thing about Streetside Symphony is we finished the record, we printed it, and then the band broke up and we never released it. I think maybe after this video comes out, I'll put the record up on Spotify, even though it's, 13 years old, 2007. Next, let me play you a couple CROWFIELD tracks. All going down together, we're going down together. Well, for you, the sky is never blue. You're off and on, but I'm on to you. Somebody's shoulder has just gotten colder. And we're scared as hell, but it's just a kiss. Come on, let's see how good it is. You're holding back what makes you think you're sad. The next song is called Cardinal Motion, and it's my favorite song on the record. It's one of my favorite songs that I've done. I actually played a guitar solo at the end of the song. It's funny because when we initially did the track, the singer Tyler's like, I thought you were going to put strings at the end of the song. And I said, I did put strings. The guitar has strings on it. Check it out. We are far out softly singing to ourselves. Yes, all our goodbyes, all movements of water from the cardinal motion. So kiss me and know that the salt from our tears when we'll meet in the ocean. Yeah, I will be Sorry about the gratuitous guitar solo there. That's one of my favorite solos to play along to. When I played it originally, I always said, oh God, I'd love to go out and play that with the band sometime. And I mean, they didn't have, it was all session players. When I heard the chord progression, I thought needs like a Peter Frampton type solo with a Leslie sound, things like that. So that was my Peter Frampton style solo. After we finished the record, the guys went back to Charleston, they put together a band, and Johnny started managing them. During this time, Johnny was finding all these different artists, not just for me to produce, but ones that he was feeding to major labels. And they were all getting record deals. Johnny really never got his due as an A&R person, but he was incredibly influential. Johnny ended up moving from here in 2009. He moved back to Charleston. He started having some pretty severe problems with depression. He continued to manage CROWFIELD. CROWFIELD got a record deal with Universal Records that ended up not really going anywhere. It was kind of a nothing deal. And had they had somebody with vision there, they could have done something, I believe, with the record that we made, which is available on iTunes still, and I'm going to put it up on Spotify. But he had a really, really rough time in 2010 and 2011. We kept in touch all the time. And we would talk about projects, different, we weren't doing that much with the label. We only had made those 2 records. And because Johnny was no longer here in Atlanta, it was difficult to work on these things, especially since he was having these really difficult bouts with depression. And it was November of 2011. I remember I was in my car in the morning. It was about 10:30, and Johnny called me. We were talking. We talked for about 15 minutes or so, just about different groups, about nothing really. And at 5:30 at night, I got this frantic message from a guy named Joel Frank. He was one of the program directors of from the Charleston radio station. And he said, "Call me, I need to talk to you." So I called Joel back, and he said, "Johnny committed suicide." And I said, "What?" I talked to Johnny at 10:30 this morning. He said, and he went through and told me what happened. And I couldn't believe it. It was crushing. Johnny had a lot of friends in the community, in the music community, not just from Charleston, but from all over the country. There were A&R people that came from New York for Johnny's funeral. There were about 650 people that came for his funeral. And he was loved by so many musicians. I mean, everybody knew Johnny. If I had to say, that there was one person that was incredibly important to my career as a producer in music, had to be Johnny Diamond. He was an incredibly great human being, one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. And he had an amazingly good ear for talent. He could hear things in their infancy that no A&R guy could hear, that you'd have to have complete finished songs. But Johnny could hear from the roughest demo. He knew when people had talent. He had it. And he never got his due while he was alive. He didn't. And so I wanted to make a video dedicating it to Johnny Diamond and to tell people that follow my channel about him and what an incredibly great human being he was, and how much he did for me and for so many other musicians around the South and all over this country. So this is my video dedicated to Johnny. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Rick Beato.